I think probably by now I have spent about 30 years in this field, um, all in human resource function and all in the IT industry vertical, all the 30 years. Interestingly, right, what I realized after all these 30 years, what I'm realizing now is that earlier, after every 4 years, I used to become irrelevant. I used to get restless because the new things will happen in the industry. What we started was what probably was not really relevant. So we used to reinvent. We used to get frustrated many times. We used to blame this, that system, not realizing that changes are happening outside, which we are not actually adopting. Now that cycle, which used to be 4 years, 5 years, now is about every 1.5 years. There is a huge change in the industry. Now, if you ask me, after all the 3 decades of experience, and all being in the human resource function and all being in the IT industry, how do you see this? I'm saying that I'm as good as a fresher because I have to learn every day, right? Where probably this 3 decades of experience could underline is if I can, put those learnings in the new stage, if possible. And that's not going to be easy. It's not easy to make that case and put it in the new scenario, and that is true for all the professionals. So it's a very fascinating thing to realize that you are as good as a fresher after 3 decades of experience, right? It's good to say I have so many years of experience. Actually, every 1.5 years it becomes zero. It resets to zero because everything is changing. What we did 3 decades back, 20 decades, or even 10 years back, right? It's not what it is relevant today. Is what I realized. Probably I realized it late, but I'm very happy to realize, and I feel that, I'm like any other fresher. So if you ask me what's your years of experience, I'll say I'm like a fresher. That's what I think I should be. Everyone should be looking at. Unless you are looking, your mindset is not like a fresher. With that amount of a good mix of anxiety and curiosity and the fear, right? That you will lose out. You will not be in a position to perform the way it is, right? So that's what I would say about my learning after 30 years of this. Very few professionals would have spent all the 30 years in the IT industry in the human resource. Probably, yes, there could be few, but probably they may also have the same feeling after spending this much time. It's my understanding that all of us are as good as fresh college pass out, coming to the industry, looking at with the new views, trying to learn everything new. So that's purely from my side. Well, I actually every time, whenever I get free time, I take one, the top 100 books. The collection of there is what I bought periodically from Amazon, but I haven't finished many of them. Every time I touch a book, 10 pages, I drop it, then I take another book after a while. So my free time is attempting to read a book, if I have to say with all honesty. Everything is BFSI at some point of time, right? In a very commercial world which we live today, everything there is a payment at some point of time. Even if you run an NGO, there is a payment. Even if you run a political party, there's a payment, right? So today, BFSI is all pervasive, right? It is not in that traditional understanding of ours. Many years back, you have to go to the bank, stand before the employee and the bank employee, and it used to be so confusing that what they are doing. And if there's a strike, the whole country will come for a standstill across the world, and more so in India. I think the BFSI definitions have changed, right? So it is bound to be, because everything has a payment, be it hospital, right? Be it anything, right? Even including an NGO, be a school, be an education institution. There is a payment process. Therefore, BFSI will be the first area for the payment. When I say BFSI, I'm saying the entire financial system. It could be payments, it could be banking, it could be capital markets, it could be insurance, whatever. Right? That's the whole space. Constantly, there's a pressure to change because that some industry is changing and BFSI being part of it will always change. This is very, very interesting for you to note, right? Today, if you ask what Google is, right? If you think Google is a pure search engine or a technology player, well, their focus is on Google Pay, which is almost like a payment process, right? And if you go to any of the premium IITs, right, the so-called the top-notch engineering institutions of this country, day zero is occupied by not the core engineering companies. Day zero is occupied by Goldman Sachs, including this year's campus hiring. Day zero goes to Goldman Sachs, right, followed by the other large banks, multinational banks. What has banks to do with the engineers? From IIT. So this point is they're also trying to update their fintech process. So this line of this is bank, only they will do financial process. This is a core engineering company, they will do nut and bolt. All that is going away. So the BFSI itself is becoming very blurred, right? With the onslaught of the fintech companies, right? It is so much of it's actually very interesting chaos. It's a very positive chaos. What we are seeing today, what Paytm is doing, what Credit is doing, what Bank Bazaar is doing, right? And so many of them, including the India itself, coming with RuPay and the whole UPI stack ahead of others, right? A lot have been spoken about how India's UPI stack has changed everything. So, and that is helping various other segments, be it a Zomato, be it a Swiggy, or could be even anyone, right? All of that is including your Ola and Uber. Today, you can travel from, let's say, Bangalore to Mumbai without cash in hand. Everything you can do on a mobile, right? You can book a ticket, get into the flight, get down at the Mumbai airport, book the Uber, pay Uber on your mobile, go home. Can you imagine this? Sometime back, you don't need to have a single pie. Added to this positive chaos is a new crypto. So this is very fascinating space, right? Now coming to your first question, and I know I diverged a bit. I'm trying to set the stage like how expansive this space is, how agile this space is, how aggressively changing environment in this space. And there are a lot of players. With crypto coming, there is government, there is activist, right? There is technology, there is compliance, there is global law, you name it. Everyone is into play, right? It's a big melting point. Now in this space, what does HR got to do, right? Now HR has to, in this space, when you are especially in the new segment of BFSI, you need to be extremely relevant to the market changes, to the space changes. And you have to create, your primary responsibility is to create a workforce which is extremely agile, for all these market changes which is happening. You cannot have a workforce which is stuck to one process. I'm not able to pivot, right? The word pivot is the most frequently used these days. To a new model, to a new product line, to a new process, to a new technology, to a new domain, to a new market, to a new customer, right? To a new partner. Every day there is a change. So if the biggest contribution of human resource function is to get a workforce which is willing to be agile. Now let me put this point very, very subtly. A workforce which is culturally willing to be agile, right? Many days, when we used to hire in the past, so what is that you're looking for? I'm looking for a challenging opportunity. What is this challenging opportunity? Many of us were not very clear about the definition. what is the challenging opportunity? This challenge is off. The opportunity is here. And the opportunity is how agile you are. How keen are you to change on a daily basis? When you say change, willingly changing, right? Now, let me go back to a parlance, right? Let's say you are an Indian cricket team coach, right? And see, if I have to come to you and say, boss, you have to build a cricket team, right, for Indian team. Now, what will you do? You have a test match team, you have a one-day team, you have a T20 team, right? Now, many of them try to have the same teams. But the point is, the coach role is, you need to have a team who can switch to a test match role, to a one-day role, same day, right? You finish 3 test matches, after 2 days gap, you have to go and play T20. Totally different mindsets, totally different rules, totally different turf, right? So everything changes other than the ball and bat. Similarly, here you have to create an environment where the players here or your employees are first is proficient, second is capable, third is willing being underlined, that they are willing to be agile to the changing requirements. This to me is a most critical HR role in the given BFSI environment. So that's my view. So just before this ongoing aggression in the Europe, it'll be interesting to note many Indian companies were outsourcing work to Ukraine. It was actually it was on the increasing curve, right? It started with few companies, many companies have started attempting. So what's going to happen, assuming that things will become normal, that the tech work will become very global. Today, you have many players in India who are employed Indians, but they don't have any offices in India and they don't intend to have an office in India, right? Still few weeks back, or Coinbase, they don't have an office in India. They hired a lot of people. I can talk about many such companies. So this whole hiring is going to be, so I'm saying not only inside out, outside in. When I say Indian companies going to look for talent outside India, and same way global companies who are not going to have offices in India is very keen to hire a Indian talent, right? Earlier, if a company, till I would say pre-COVID, if a company wants to use a wild Indian talent, they have to come here and set shop. They have to have a small shop, they have to look for a place, they have to do a registration and whatever, right? Today, I think we have moved further. The whole talent market is moved. The talent mobility has really moved further. Today, I don't need to have an office in Ukraine. I can still get the Ukraine people. If there's a talent, there's a good IT talent there. So you can make use of that. I'm just saying this as an example, but globally. So this is going to be a very interesting phase. As I said, every 18 months, we are going through, as I said, it's ground zero for all the HR professionals. A new phase is that earlier you will have a global workforce, many companies had, but the point is they're all working in one roof or in under one logo rather. Today, it is not the case. They may not be sitting in one roof. They don't intend to sit in the one roof. They'll be sitting all over the place. Still, it's a global workforce. So how are you going to build a common theme among them is very interesting for the human resource challenge. So to answer your question, I see global inside out and outside in of talent mobility is the real thing. You will have example like Coinbase, right? Probably others also. I'm just saying this as a company as example. Many of them, they have no intention. They may not do business in India, or they don't have an interest to set up an office in India, but they will be using the Indian talent who are available in India, who don't need to travel. I can sit in Bangalore, or I can sit in Bhopal, or I can sit in Coimbatore and still, I just need an internet and work for a company which is in Silicon Valley, right? Similarly, right, I can also take a high-end architect probably from some part of the world, maybe Vietnam, right, and still use them. So this question of having people under one roof, under one country is gone. I think that's something which we have moved further. That's going to be the future. So now we have to understand how to handle a global workforce. Added with this is a challenge that not only creating a common theme, culture, a value base across. The issue is you have a lot of compliance related issues which will come. How are we going to pay? What are the tax regulations? Plus, if we are in the BFSI space, obviously each government has control over what customer data, how you can keep. The recent Mastercard issues, Visa and Mastercard issues were very visible and spoken about. That where to keep the customer data and where do you keep the local body data. So like that, you will have a lot of compliance issues, especially if you're working on the BFSI space. So this has to be looked into, but this will not be a showstopper. This will consume part of your energy, part of your planning, but all countries will open up because there's an opportunity, right? Now we'll also see people freelancing. If I'm an expert, right, in a particular space, you will not be surprised. I work for 5 companies, and of which 3 of them could be competitors, right? So it is going to be on the high, and that's what will happen. And truly, it will be used for paper code. You will be paying for me for a particular output or per hour, whatever is the productivity norm we are going to look at. So there is a very fascinating changes which is there in the anvil. It is happening right in front of us. It is only going to be bigger, right? Many Silicon Valley companies are setting up. I'm not saying setting up. They're hiring people in India without any, with a clear commitment. You don't need to travel. You don't need to come to office. We don't have an office. You just have to work for us, and this is your output. Period. So that suits, and that suits especially the women workforce, right? So this is a big change, in my view, as we speak, and it was happening pre-COVID in a very, I would say, in a smaller way, but I think the COVID has accelerated it. And given this confidence that the workforce need not be in one room, workforce need not be physical. So therefore, it is going to accelerate the inside in out and outside in type of talent movements. It's again a question which is in front of many of the institutions today. Few of them have taken a directional call. Few of them are still ambiguous about what it is. Few of them have said we are going to start work. You have to come. Few of them have said no, forever you can work from home. And few of them who have not taken a call are not very clear, right? So from a Bank Bazaar's perspective, we have said the choice of the employee. You decide. The offices are open. If you want to come, you come. If you feel you can work from home, do it. We measure an employee by output, not by preference, right? For us, that that flexibility should be given to the employee. See, we have to understand. We have our tech centers in Bangalore. Many of them have vacated their houses and gone to the native. So, if we make them come again, let's say, and we again, God forbid, when one more wave comes, again they have to, there's an uncertainty and they have to go, all that starts, right? So everyone is on a wait mode. But what we felt during the COVID time, our productivity was very good. People are very happy. So why disturb them? So we are given a very open call. Look, the offices is open. You have 3 choices. You can work from home, or you can work from office, or you can come to office whenever you want, right? But just keep your colleagues informed. You don't need to inform HR. You don't need to inform 100 people. Your colleagues have to know whether you're working from home. People who work with you, because there's a dependency, since we are in a tech world. So there's a dependency. People have to know whether you're working from home or you're working from office. That's it. So we are left to the employees to decide about themselves, rather than we taking a decision and pushing on them. And that's been our belief in Bank Bazaar always. Let the employees decide. When you speak of education institutions, right? There's a very interesting, visibility, I would say. If you look at hospitals, right? If you touch wood, right? So if someone wants to go for an emergency treatment, 99% of the population, if affordable, will go to a private hospital. If you have to pick an airline, if the tickets are fine, if the timings are fine, 90% of the time people go for a private airline. And that's true for anything, right? You take anywhere, the preferences towards the private sector when it comes to availing a service. But interestingly, right, when it comes to education, even after so many years of experience today, if you want to hire the top-notch engineers, you end up in IITs and NITs, which are government institutions. If you want to hire a management grad, you are ending up going to the IIMs, which are again the government institutions in some way, right? So that's a very interesting, thing. No other segment, right? Be it pharmaceutical, be it hospital, be it everything, that the tendency is to go towards the private sector institutions for whatever efficiency, service, whatever. But when it comes to the talent from the college, we still go to the IITs and IIMs and NITs, which are the government institutions. It's a very interesting thing which we should understand why it is happening. Because why IITs or our Indians of Science or the NITs are still retaining that premium, it's not because of any other ecosystem. It's purely because of the meritorious students being there. So if you have students, good collection of students, obviously the tendency is to go and take the talent, right? So here the industry have to create a pool, take the responsibility of creating such an environment of building a meritorious or a talent pool, which is very, very innovative and very keen to experiment, right? And lot of attempts have been made, as we call it, III, the Industry Institute Interactions. But I think it is not, it's in the same space as many global institutions we talk about, right? If you look at any of the global rankings, be it QS rankings or by Times rankings, the Indian institutions does not rank that high. There are multiple reasons, but having said, the biggest lacuna in institutions today, what we have is lack of research, adequate research, and therefore lack of innovation. But for Indians of Science and some IITs, which are the older IITs and few NITs, there are hardly any serious research works happen. So that's where this talent challenge happens. Everyone is fighting for the same resources in the same institution, right? It's not the quantum. There are enough of engineers available in the country, enough of other grads available in the country. But the problem is everyone wants those top 500 IITians and top 100 and IIM guys. That's a challenge. So here is what we have to go and figure out, that how to fix it and incentivize institutions to constantly do R&D and lot more of research work and accepting students in the research work right from their third year, making them get into a lot more rigor in terms of research, will open up a lot of opportunities in that space for people to really understand the subject, to get a corporate view, and who knows, many of them may go as an entrepreneur, because research is what actually triggers an idea, right? If you look at any of the large American universities, it is from the research labs where students go on startups. So I think that culture has to start. And in that, the industry has to, support research and the institutions, whichever they are. I'm not saying only those IITs, but even large private sector universities has to spend really more on the research space, which I think is currently lacking. See, I'm always a great believer of experimentation, right? These four labor codes, as I call it as WISE, wages, industrial relations, social security, and safety. I think it's an experiment, and I think a bit of reality to the changes. I won't say they have changed drastically, but I think you can't keep ancient acts and keep after that. As they say, there are so many definitions of wages, we don't know what to follow. So I don't think industry is the same what it was 50 years back. These changes are welcome. Now, again, labor is a very touchy topic in a very democratic, politically, electorally driven, spaces. So it's not going to be easy for all the parties to accept. So there will be challenges, but in my view, we should experiment. We should make changes. If something fails, we can always go back. I don't think the intention of any of those acts are to make the employee suffer or the employer suffer. It is only to make the process a lot more simpler, make more people who are running the institutions their lives simpler, and also give space to the employees and the labor to understand it becomes a lot more simpler. If you know, till few years back, the labor unions have manned or governed by external experts. The labor were not experts themselves to manage a union. They're always leaning for a outsider, more so from a union leader, to come and manage them, because the processes are so cumbersome, right? So many of this, if made simple, the individual can fight his own case. The individual can take up his own case. Why make things so cumbersome, so complicated? First of all, group them into simpler 4, 5, make it simpler. Few states have given their own rules. The central government has given its rules. I think the few state governments, about 16, if I recall, have given their rules. Few of them have not. It's more to do with the electoral politics than, I would say, the subject itself. In my view, I'm not saying this is right, that is right. I'm saying don't stop anything. We shouldn't stop changes. Let the change happen. If it is wrong, we can always go back and correct it. As far as the intentions are pure, as far as we are trying to make life simpler for everyone, and laws are not skewed towards either side, I think it should be fair to go and adopt it, give it a chance, and experiment. I think we shouldn't stop anything. It's only an attempt to make things simpler, and I think, in my view, it's taking a long time. I'm fairly impatient that way, but I think it is what it is. You can't it is touching millions of workers, so you cannot rush it. I understand, but my vote is for the change, good or bad. Let's face the change and we'll learn on the go.